The paycheck just hit, and within 72 hours, most of it is gone. Not because you splurged, not because you made some reckless decision. Just gone. Rent took its cut. The utilities grabbed their piece. The minimum payment on that card you've been meaning to pay off. Groceries, gas, a school fee you forgot was coming. And somewhere in there, a random charge from a subscription you definitely meant to cancel months ago. And then you sit there, looking at your bank balance at 11 p.m., are running the numbers again, wondering how you can work this hard and still feel this close to the edge. I want to stop you right there, because what you're feeling isn't a personal failure. It's the predictable outcome of a system that was never designed to teach you how to win. Think about it. 12 years of school, maybe college on top of that. And in all of those years, how many hours did anyone spend teaching you how compound interest works? How to negotiate your salary? What a Roth IRA even is? How debt actually functions as a mechanism that transfers your wealth to someone else? Zero. The answer is zero. The Federal Reserve's 2023 report found that 37% of American adults cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. That's not 37% of people below the poverty line. That's 37% of all adults, across all income levels. And that number has barely moved in a decade. Meanwhile, the top 1% of households in America now hold more wealth than the entire bottom 90% combined. That's not bad luck. That's not laziness on one side and genius on the other. That's a knowledge gap dressed up as an outcome gap. And today, we're closing it. 7 rules, the actual framework that changes your financial trajectory. Not motivation, not hype. Math, psychology, and strategy. In plain language, let's go. Rule 1. Engineer your money. Don't just budget it. Let me ask you something honest. How many times have you said, I need to start budgeting, and then didn't? Or started, kept it going for 3 weeks, then one irregular expense showed up and the whole thing fell apart? You're not undisciplined. Traditional budgeting is just a fundamentally broken system for most people. Here's why. Traditional budgeting is reactive. It asks you to track what you already spent, feel bad about it, and try to do better next time. It treats every financial decision as a willpower battle. And willpower, science has proven this repeatedly, is a finite resource. It depletes. You cannot white-knuckle your way to wealth. Wealth engineering works differently, completely differently. Instead of hoping you have money left over at the end of the month to save and invest, you automate those moves at the beginning. Before you can spend it, before you can make excuses, before life can get in the way. This is called pay yourself first. And it's not a new idea. Our George Clason wrote about it in The Richest Man in Babylon back in 1926. It's 100 years old, and it still works because human psychology hasn't changed. We spend what's available. So the solution is simple. Make less available. Here's the practical setup. The day your paycheck hits, not the day after, not when you get around to it. That same day, an automatic transfer fires. A percentage goes to savings. A percentage goes to investing. What's left is yours to live on. Guilt-free, no tracking required. Now watch what happens to that money. Say you earn $3,500 a month. You automate $350, that's 10%, into a simple index fund that tracks the S&P 500, which has averaged roughly 7% annually after inflation over the past 50 years. You do this consistently for 25 years. You end up with over $284,000. From $350 a month, money you automated away before you ever saw it. Money you never missed. Money that quietly compounded in the background while you lived your life. Or now start at 22 instead of 32, and that number almost doubles. The secret was never discipline. The secret was removing the decision entirely. You can't spend what isn't there. You can't procrastinate on something that already happened automatically. Set it up this week, even if it's $50 a month. The amount matters less than the habit. Start the machine. Rule 2. High-interest debt isn't a bill, it's a slow emergency. I want you to picture something. Imagine you had a leak in your roof. A small drip, easy to ignore. You throw a bucket under it and move on with life. 6 months later, the ceiling caves in and the repairs cost 10 times what fixing the leak would have. That's exactly what high-interest debt does to your finances. It's a slow leak you've learned to live with until it isn't slow anymore. Here are the numbers. The average American household carries about $6,500 in credit card debt. The average credit card interest rate, as of 2024, over 21%. That means for every $100 you owe, you're paying $21 every year just to stay in the same place. You haven't paid down a dollar of principal. You've just paid to exist in debt. Here's the math that should genuinely disturb you. If you carry $6,500 at 21% interest and make only minimum payments, you will spend approximately 17 years paying it off, and you'll pay over $10,000 in interest on top of the original balance. You borrowed $6,500. You paid back nearly $17,000. The bank made $10,000 off your minimum payment habit, and that $10,000 didn't just disappear. It's the investment portfolio you never built. It's the emergency fund that would have saved you from taking on more debt when the car broke down. It's the down payment that kept sliding further out of reach. This is why I call high-interest debt a slow emergency. It doesn't feel urgent because it doesn't hurt all at once. It bleeds you slowly, quietly, and consistently. So the strategy to kill it is called the debt avalanche. Here's how it works. Write down every debt you have, every single one, credit cards, personal loans, store cards, everything. Next to each one, write the interest rate. Now rank them from highest rate to lowest. Pay the minimum on every single debt except the top one. On the highest rate debt, throw everything extra you have at it. Every extra dollar. Tax refund? Goes there. Birthday money? Goes there. Cut a subscription? Goes there. When that debt is dead, and I mean dead, balance at zero. You take everything you were paying on it and you roll it into the next one on the list. This is called the debt snowball in reverse, and mathematically it saves you more interest than any other payoff strategy. People who've used this method have paid off $30,000 in debt in under 2 years on average incomes. Not because they made more money, because they treated it like the emergency it actually was. The roof is leaking, and stop living with the bucket. Rule 3. Build the wall before the storm, not during it. Let me tell you exactly how financial progress dies. It doesn't die in a dramatic crash. It doesn't die because you made one terrible decision. It dies in a Tuesday afternoon when your car makes a sound it's never made before, or you get a medical bill in the mail you weren't expecting, or your hours get cut at work for a month. One unexpected expense. No buffer. Back to the credit card. Back to the beginning. This is the exact pattern that keeps people financially stuck for decades. 2 steps forward, one unexpected expense back. The same ground covered over and over again. And it's not because people aren't trying hard enough. It's because they skipped the foundation. The emergency fund is the most unsexy, boring, non-viral financial advice in the world. And it is the single most important financial structure you will ever build. Here's what it does. When life hits, and it will hit, it always does. Instead of reaching for a credit card at 21% interest, you reach into your own account. You handle the problem. You don't go backwards. You don't add debt. You just solve it and move on. Think about how different your last 3 years would have looked if every unexpected expense had been pre-funded. Every car repair, every medical bill, every I didn't see that coming moment, just handled. No panic, no debt spiral, just handled. So the target is 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. I know what you're thinking. That's going to take forever. And here's the thing, you don't need to get there in a month. You need to start moving toward it. $500 before anything else. Then $1,000. Then 1 month of expenses. Then 3. You build it like you build anything, one brick at a time. And critically, this money needs to live in a high-yield savings account. Not your regular checking account where you might accidentally spend it. Not a mattress. Not under a desk. As of 2024, high-yield savings accounts are offering 4.5% to 5% APY. Your emergency fund should be actively growing while it waits. This is not an investment. This is insurance. Insurance that pays interest. The storm is coming. The only question is whether you've built the wall. Rule 4. Your income has a ceiling. Your assets don't. There are 24 hours in a day. You can work maybe 10, 12, 14 of them if you push hard. Eventually, your body says no. Eventually, your health says no. Eventually, your relationships say no. There is a physical, biological ceiling on how much money any human being can earn by exchanging time for dollars. Assets don't have a ceiling. An asset is anything that generates income without requiring your direct time every time it pays you. A stock portfolio, rental property, a business that runs without you, royalties from something you created once, on a digital product, index funds. Every single wealthy person, and I mean every single one, across industries, across generations, built wealth through assets, not paychecks, not overtime, assets. Here's the most accessible entry point for most people. Index funds. The S&P 500, the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the U.S., has returned an average of about 10.5% annually over the last 50 years. Through the 2008 financial crisis, through the dot-com crash, through COVID, through every recession and correction and scary headline, 10.5% annually, on average, for 50 years. Watch this math carefully. $200 a month. That's $6.67 a day. Less than most people spend on coffee and lunch. Invested consistently into an index fund at 10% average annual return over 30 years. $452,000. You contributed $72,000. The market added $380,000. You didn't work for that $380,000. Your assets worked for it while you slept, while you ate dinner, while you watched TV, while you lived your life. That's not luck. That's not privilege. That's arithmetic that's been available to anyone with a brokerage account since the 1970s. You don't need to pick stocks. You don't need a financial advisor charging 1.5% in fees. Open a brokerage account, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab. Buy a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, set up automatic monthly contributions, and leave it alone. The wealthy aren't smarter. They started acquiring assets earlier. You start today. Rule 5. The raise you never asked for is costing you $600,000. Here's a number I want you to sit with. Studies consistently show that employees who negotiate their starting salary earn an average of $5,000 to $7,000 more per year than those who accept the first offer. Not just executives, not just people in finance or tech. Across all industries, all levels. But that's not the scary number. The scary number is what that gap compounds into over a career. What if you start at $50,000 instead of $44,000 because you negotiated, and every performance review, every raise, every future job offer is calculated as a percentage of that higher base? The lifetime income difference between the person who negotiated and the person who didn't can easily exceed $600,000 to $1 million. $1 million left on the table because one conversation felt uncomfortable, And here's what nobody tells you about negotiation. Over 70% of hiring managers expect candidates to negotiate. When you don't, they're not relieved. They sometimes quietly wonder why you didn't value yourself enough to try. But this rule goes beyond salary. The highest returning skill you can develop in your lifetime isn't coding. It isn't data analytics. It isn't any technical skill with a 5-year shelf life before it's automated. It's the ability to communicate your value clearly and ask for what you deserve. Public speaking, persuasive writing, negotiation, knowing how to walk into a room, articulate your contribution, and make a compelling case for your worth. These are not soft skills. These are the highest paid skills on the planet, and most people spend zero time developing them. Invest in a negotiation course. Read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Practice salary conversations with a friend before you have them for real. The return on this investment, in real dollars, will outperform almost any stock you'll ever pick. Here's the line I want you to remember. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Go have the conversation. Rule 6. Stop overpaying the government. Use the accounts they built for you. I'm going to tell you something that should make you genuinely frustrated. The government, yes, the same one you have complicated feelings about, has created specific accounts that let you build wealth completely tax-free or tax-deferred for decades. And the majority of working Americans either aren't using them or aren't using them correctly. Let's start with the one that's genuinely free money. If your employer offers a 401k with a matching contribution and you are not taking the full match, stop everything and fix that today. Not this month. Today. Here's why. A 3% employer match on a $50,000 salary means your employer puts $1,500 into your retirement account every year for free. That's a 100% instant return on that money before it's even invested. There is no investment, no hustle, no side gig on the planet that gives you a guaranteed 100% return before it starts compounding. If you leave that match on the table for 20 years, you've walked away from potentially $60,000 to $90,000 in compounded free money because you didn't contribute enough to claim what was already yours. Now let's talk about the Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account where you contribute money you've already paid taxes on, after-tax dollars. The magic is what happens next. Everything that money grows into, every dollar of compound interest, every gain, every dividend, comes out completely tax-free in retirement. Think about what that means. If you invest $200 a month in a Roth IRA for 30 years at 10% returns, you end up with $452,000. If that money was in a regular taxable account and you withdrew it in retirement, you'd pay taxes on the gains. In a Roth, you keep all of it. That tax-free status can be worth $80,000 to $150,000 in avoided taxes over a typical retirement. Step 1. Contribute at least enough to your 401k to get the full employer match. Step 2. Open a Roth IRA and contribute monthly. Step 3. Max both accounts if you can ever get there. You are not cheating the system. You are using the system exactly as designed. The wealthy have known this for generations. Now you do too. Rule 7. Your network is your net worth. This is not motivational fluff. I know what some of you are thinking. Network your way to wealth sounds like something on a motivational poster above a treadmill in a mid-2000s office. Stay with me, because this rule has hard data behind it. A LinkedIn research found that 85% of jobs are filled through networking, not job boards, not cold applications, not sending your resume into a black hole at midnight hoping someone notices. Relationships, 85%. But here's where the research gets even more compelling. Harvard conducted an 80-year longitudinal study, the longest study of adult life ever done, tracking hundreds of people across different income levels, backgrounds, and life paths. They measured everything: education, genetics, career success, physical health, mental health, longevity. The single clearest predictor of long-term health, happiness, and financial success wasn't IQ. It wasn't education. It wasn't even work ethic. It was the quality of your relationships. The people you spend the most time with don't just affect your mood. They shape your habits, your financial decisions, your risk tolerance, your ambitions, and the opportunities you're exposed to. This isn't philosophy. It's behavioral science. We are profoundly influenced by our social environment, whether we notice it or not. Studies on social contagion in financial behavior show that people are dramatically more likely to start investing, save more, and reduce debt when people in their immediate social circle are doing the same. And the reverse is equally true. Financial avoidance and poor money habits spread through social networks just as readily. Show me your 5 closest friends and I can make a strong prediction about your financial future. This isn't about cutting people off. It's about being intentional and additive. Seek out one mentor who is 10 years ahead of where you want to be. Join one community, online or in person, where people are building wealth, starting businesses, talking about money with literacy and intention. Start having honest money conversations with the people you already trust. Your network is infrastructure. It determines what information reaches you, what opportunities you hear about, and what your default behavioral standards are. Invest in it like an asset, because that's exactly what it is. Let me bring this home. 7 rules. And I want to be clear about something. None of these require you to win the lottery. None require a trust fund, a perfect credit score, a 6-figure income, or even a clean financial past. They require a decision, a real one, that the old pattern stops today. Engineer your money before it engineers your life. Treat high-interest debt like the emergency it actually is. Build your wall, your emergency fund, before the storm arrives, not during it. Start acquiring assets, even small ones, because your labor has a ceiling and your investments don't. Negotiate your value relentlessly, because that one skill compounds across your entire career. Use the tax-advantaged accounts the system literally built for you. And build a circle of people who are building things, because your environment is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. None of this is complicated. Difficult, yes. Uncomfortable sometimes, but not complicated. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't talent. It's not timing. It's not luck. It's the distance between knowing these rules and actually living by them. You just closed the first part of that gap. Now close the rest. Drop a comment below and tell me, which rule are you starting with this week? Not someday, this week. And if this hits someone you know, send it to them. The cycle has to break somewhere. Let it break here. Let's build.